that the Lord have done, but rather have refused to be obedient to him, to even be able to love yourself and take steps in order for your life to change. The Lord says to such a person, I will not hear your prayers. And we saw also in the book of Joshua chapter 7, when we read that, I'm not going to read that to you today. Maybe I'll read a sample of it in Joshua chapter 7 from verse 16 to 26. In the scenes of Ashan, when the Lord charged him, the Lord charged him in Joshua chapter 7 of the sins that he has committed, his wickedness and evil, disobeying God, taking what not to be taken and what not to be touched, stole it and buried it in his own tent, in his own house. And then for that reason, from the sin of one man, the entire Israel was put in jeopardy, just like a lot of leaders in our own country. For the sake of their own selfishness and their friends, they put the entire population of our country in jeopardy, and they put our country at risk. They put our national security and safety net at risk. They said, you can borrow and print money as much as you want so that they will enjoy their life, and then they leave our generation to pick up the pieces and the crisis that we follow for the generations to come. Those that did not care about their own father, their own children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, so long as they enjoy their life and they go on beyond, that is all that matters to them. But we know that our God is not like that. Neither did God sanction the abuse of powers that we have seen in the people that make this kind of policies and this kind of doctrines. Because of his inconsistency, those that continue to make an incoherent and inconsistent narratives about the values of our nation, or the nation where you come from, where you hear this message. For you have seen God at work in the things that he had done for each time, in the promises and in the prophecies that you have received from this altar, that the Lord himself have continued to show himself to be that powerful and that great, that unless he let things be, then people always think and run around and boast of their power and what they can do. Until one day the Lord will stir up something using what you have done or what he's done or what is available or what your plot or your plan is, and use that to destroy those people. Like in a country called Nigeria, where you see people in the north, in the suffering, upon being in charge, upon usurping every power, destroying every nation and every culture and every tribe, that is in that place using and abusing the powers even against their own sons and their own daughters, and then turn around to spew out some conflict and stir up conflict. Those that don't think about how to manage the nature and the things that God has given unto us in a way that it shall benefit all, but rather they do so in the way that it benefits them and their friends. In our own country, people register to be lobbyists so that they would deny our people the good and goodness of God and love of God. They deny us the peace of mind and the rest that we're supposed to enjoy. And they stir up confusion. And they stir up confusion around the world. They destroy our image and destroy everything that we have. But they call themselves leaders and they call themselves elders, and you are sanction it and allow it. And you say nothing because some a benefit or the other, because they have deceived you, they have manipulated you, especially in the confusion they're causing for our children. In the passage that we see, you liken it to the passage that you see. A leader who was in charge of the world and is a leader at a particular time, as the time and the season we're in, the season of famine, when you cannot be able to buy enough. Whatever that money you make, no matter how much you make, is not enough. Even the rich are beginning to feel the pinch. They are beginning to feel, because they've seen the reduction in what they are able to purchase and the things that they have, that you can see that it is in a season like this, that is the season when you found someone like Joseph. Make a comparison to people around you and in the world today, the world of intolerance, Back then, it was Egypt, the superpower, the cradle of civilization, the beginning of what we enjoy today as Western civilization. They saw the foundations and saw the principles and the teachings upon which the rest of the world decided to build upon their own civilization. But yet, this message is still true today, as we can see that we find the nations of the earth in the same place where Egypt found themselves. But for the action of a wise king, the action of a wise king who listened to a wise man, a man that is favored by God, he was able to enact a policy and take an action that saved Egypt from the total destruction and also saved the world. Today, we occupy in the same position as was Egypt then. What kind of decisions are we making, our leaders are making, in order to save America from the doom that they are starting to experience, from the danger that we are facing ahead of us? What kind of decisions are the leaders making to save the world from total annihilation and total destruction, to die by hunger? Those that like to use hunger as a weapon of warfare. Now, remember the story my grandmother told me about the Civil War in Nigeria. Today, the hunger they are beginning to experience is beginning to feel a little bit like the beginning of what they have forced upon the nation of Igbo and all the nations upon the earth, even in Ukraine today, and all the nations upon the earth, whenever there is such a wicked and evil act, they use hunger. But the worst of all is that today's hunger had become a punishment as a result of the wickedness of man when they abused their power and when they decided to say that they are the beginning and the end and the author and finisher of life, when they decided to make biological weapon that has suffered the earth. They did not think about inability to control the outcome. But there was prophecy then, long before then, from this altar and about the things that they are doing and they are planning, the danger that they face the earth, and if they decide to